Top news for today, November 30, 2020. President Duterte calls on Filipinos to follow the example of Gat Andres Bonifacio as the country celebrates Bonifacio Day. Joint Task Force COVID Shield is set to enforce stricter health protocols this Yuletide season. The daughter of Bayan Muna Representative Euphemia Colgamat is killed in an encounter between military forces and the NPA. And motorcycle riding becomes a new way to promote the country's tourist spots. Good day, I am Rom Dulfo. Welcome to PNA Newsroom. Our top story, President Duterte led the national celebration commemorating the 157th birth anniversary of Gat Andres Bonifacio, the Supremo of the Katipunan and hero of the masses. He said, like the challenges that the plebeian Bonifacio fought during his time, the nation must overcome present-day oppressors such as illegal drugs, corruption, and poverty to become progressive. He said, we are challenged to overcome the oppressor of the present day and time, and this includes illegal drugs, criminality, corruption, terrorism, poverty, environmental degradation, and other societal ills that continue to hinder our progress. Meanwhile, PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar also paid tribute to Gat Andres Bonifacio. He said that may his bravery and courage be a source of inspiration to all Filipinos as the Philippines continue to face societal ills and challenges such as poverty, insurgency, and terrorism. More LGUs also had their own ceremonies to commemorate the birth anniversary of Andres Bonifacio. Flag raising and wreath-laying rites were conducted in commemoration of Gat Andres Bonifacio's birth anniversary. In Caloocan City, Defense Chief Delfin Lorenzana and Caloocan City Mayor Oscar Malapitan led the flag raising and wreath-laying ceremonies. A virtual message by President Duterte was shown during the rites. Secretary Lorenzana urges the public to refrain from joining the armed struggle as it will do no good for them. He also clarified that the incident in Surigao del Sur, where the daughter of Representative Euphemia Colgamat was killed in an encounter between the NPA and the military, will not result in red tagging of some members of the Makabayan bloc as opposed to their claims. Meanwhile, in Manila, Mayor Francisco Esco Moreno Domagoso led the commemoration of the 157th birth anniversary of Andres Bonifacio at the Andres Bonifacio Shrine in Manila this morning. Wreath-laying ceremony was also held at the Pinaglabanan Shrine in San Juan City, led by San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora. Other flag-raising and wreath-laying rites were also held at the Museo ng Paglilitis ni Andres Bonifacio in Maragondon, Cavite, Bonifacio Monument in Balintawak, Quezon City, Bonifacio Monument in Tutuban Center in Manila, and Bonifacio Monument in Bonifacio Global City in Taguig. The DILG is still against face-to-face classes in schools. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año explains that the resumption of face-to-face classes might cause a spike in COVID-19 cases. The statement of Secretary Año is in reaction to Senator Sherwin Gatchalian's support to the proposed localized and limited face-to-face learning workshops to ease the burden of parents who are having difficulty teaching their children at home. He said if massage parlors have already been allowed to operate, schools must also be allowed to open for limited face-to-face classes. Senators Amy Marcos and Nancy Binay also noted that cockpit arenas and tourism sites have also reopened. Despite these arguments, Año still opposed the holding of physical classes, saying the enforcement of the minimum health standards will be extremely difficult to control in schools. Last October, DepEd started its preparations for the limited face-to-face classes in areas with no reported COVID-19 infections. Sadanga Mountain Province remains free of the coronavirus disease. Local officials say that instilling discipline among the residents has contributed to the COVID-free status of the town. According to Ignacio Panquet, Executive Assistant of Sadanga Mayor Gambino Gangangan, residents in the area will always observe the minimum health standards set by the Department of Health. Natives of Sadanga has a TER, which enjoins residents to stay home and solemnly observe rest period and allow the ritual to ward off illnesses to take effect. Pangkat said when the elders declare the tier, everyone is mandated to adhere to and observe the practice. Cultural practices also dictate that those who have must share with those who have less or none. That is why people did not insist on going out. He also said among the priority interventions of the local government unit is to strictly limit the entry of travelers in their jurisdiction. As huge crowds are expected during the yuletide season, mall owners are constantly briefed on the urgency of enforcing quarantine protocols inside their premises. The Joint Task Force COVID Shield is also ordered to be stricter in enforcing health protocols to prevent the spread of COVID-19. According to Interior Secretary Eduardo Año, the Philippine National Police, Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez and other concerned groups have held dialogues with mall operators regarding the strict enforcement of the minimum health standards inside their establishments. Año emphasized that donning face shields is a must indoors aside from face masks. He said malls with rampant quarantine violations will be closed down. Año said he also asked local government units and the PNP to deploy additional enforcers in convergence areas like Tiangge, wet markets, malls, and the like to implement the health and safety standards against COVID-19. Retired Chief Justice Renato Puno has renewed his call for a shift to a federal system of government. He said the distribution of powers and resources among regions would allow better distribution of assistance in areas severely affected by typhoons and the COVID-19 pandemic. Puno, who chaired the now-defunct Consultative Committee, or CONCOM, emphasized that a federal system of government would curb red tape and corruption in the bureaucracy. He pointed out that despite the signing of Republic Act 11469 or the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act, many low-income families failed to receive subsidies under the Social Amelioration Program on time. He, however, clarified that there was no specific national or local official to blame in the delays, but stressed that changing the form of government from the current unitary to a Bayanihan-type federal will break the over-concentration of power in the national government. Under the draft federal constitution, regions will get their funds from their own collection of taxes and fees, revenue sources, share from Equalization Fund, additional funding through the General Appropriations Act or GAA, and a share of income from natural resources. Still to come, the daughter of Bayan Muna Representative Eufemio Colyamat is killed in a clash between the NPA and the military. Malacanang gives cheaper options for COVID-19 swab tests. More on these with the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The daughter of Bayan Muna Representative Eufemia Colyamat was killed in an encounter on Saturday afternoon. Colyamat's youngest daughter, Javelin, was killed during an encounter between the military and suspected NPA rebels in the hinterlands of Barangay San Isidro, Marihatag, Surigao del Sur. In a report from the Army's 3rd Special Forces Battalion, Javelin's lifeless body was left behind by her comrades. Colyamat alias Kareb is a 22-year-old member of the Sandatuhan Unit Pampropaganda of Guerrilla Front 19 of the Northeastern Regional Committee of the New People's Army. Aside from her body, the Army recovered assorted weapons, 5 backpacks that contain war material, and subversive documents at the encounter site. In a statement, Congresswoman Kulyama slammed the military for allegedly using her daughter's body as a war trophy. She also called Javelin a heroine for Lumans. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año on Sunday said Benito Tiamzon and his wife Wilma are still in the country. This as he urged them to surrender after a Quezon City court sentenced them to up to 40 years imprisonment. Año has directed the Philippine National Police to intensify its manhunt against the Tiamzon couple. On Friday, Quezon City RTC Branch 216 Judge Alfonso Cruz II found the Tiamzon couple guilty of kidnapping and illegal detention of military personnel in 1988. They are also facing multiple murder charges over the alleged 1985 purge in Leyte of communist rebels known as the Inupacan Massacre. The Tiamzons were arrested in Barangay Zaragoza, Cebu City in March 2014. On August 15, 2016, the couple was granted bail to join the peace talks between the Philippine government and the National Democratic Front. The couple remains at large since the court ordered their rearrest in 2018. President Duterte vowed to remain a strong partner of China and the ASEAN, saying multilateral ties are necessary amid the prevailing COVID-19 pandemic. President Duterte made the commitment during the 17th China-ASEAN Expo and China-ASEAN Business and Investment Summit opening last Friday. The president expressed gratitude to China for its investments in trade, infrastructure, telecommunication, and transportation, which have boosted global economic recovery hit by recession. President Duterte assured to continue joining efforts in promoting the mutual prosperity of the China-ASEAN economic community. He also called for a harmonious collaboration in achieving the goal of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP. China provides financing for projects under the Duterte administration's Build infrastructure program. A lawmaker called on colleagues to have the bill seeking to lift the validity period of prepaid loan credits for phones and internet services tackled in the Senate. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian said Filipinos are dependent on the internet during the COVID-19 pandemic, and expired prepaid loan credits are somehow unacceptable. He said subscribers should be made to consume the loan credits and avail of the services they have paid for. Gatchalian's Senate Bill 365, or the Prepaid Loan Forever Act, covers prepaid cards and electronic loads for text, mobile data, value-added services, and those loaded to devices that use the internet. Currently, prepaid load credits worth 300 pesos have 1-year validity, while those with higher value have a longer expiration period. Malacanang has presented several options for those who cannot afford COVID-19 swab tests despite the set price cap of 5,000 pesos. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque cited public testing centers that charge 3,800 pesos per swab test. He also said there are centers that offer RT-PCR tests for 1,750 to 2,000 pesos in Metro Manila. These can be found at the Philippine Children's Hospital, National Kidney and Transplant Institute, or NKTI, Lung Center of the Philippines, and Perpetual Help Hospital in Las Piñas. The DOH urged President Duterte to set regulations of prices of swab tests amid complaints against centers charging as high as 12,000 pesos. A bike fun ride is held in Iloilo City for a cause. And let us take a look at the situation in Lawag City in Ilocos Norte, where there is a rise in the number of COVID-19 cases. Here's our report.
In Iloilo City, around 1,000 bike enthusiasts joined the Bonifacio Day Fun Ride organized by the Capital Cycling Club of the Iloilo Provincial Capital. The event raised 103,050 pesos, which will be donated for the victims of Typhoon Ulysses in Isabela. In Ilocos Norte, the provincial jail is under critical zone after 90 persons deprived of liberty and 5 guards tested positive of COVID-19. Provincial Health Consultant for COVID-19 Dr. Norman Rabago said cubicles were provided as isolation units while nurses checked on them regularly. Still in Ilocos Norte, major thoroughfares in Lawag City undergo massive disinfection today. Temporary barricades and checkpoints manned by police personnel and village officials are all over the city to regulate movement of people. Mass swab testing is also ongoing at the Lawag City Commercial Complex. Lawag has been declared under localized modified enhanced community quarantine since November 27 due to rising COVID-19 cases in the city. City Mayor Michael Quillon is urging the public to submit themselves to swab testing and comply with health and safety protocols. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muahe.
Up next, motorcycle riding becomes a new way to promote the country's tourist spots. Project Carinderia helps businesses and families affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The DOT, together with the Tourism Promotions Board, will be tapping motorcycle riders as domestic tourism ambassadors. The Motourismo campaign, launched on Friday, seeks to revitalize the travel experience under the new normal and allow tourists to rediscover the country's sights. It will also highlight motorcycles as a secure and viable transportation mode to explore tourist attractions with minimum health and safety protocols in place. Tourism Chief Berna Ramulupuyat expressed optimism that motorcycle riders would be able to promote the Philippines as a country of fun and diverse experience. TPB meanwhile said Motourismo is a pragmatic and sustainable way of promoting the country's untapped tourism destinations. PCAO Secretary Martin Andanar on Sunday welcomed the arrival of the Vatican's newly appointed Apostolic Nuncio to the Philippines. Andanar, along with CBCP Vice President and Caloocan Bishop Pablo Virgilio David and Parañaque Bishop Jesse Mercado, received Archbishop Charles John Brown, who arrived at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA, Sunday morning. In his message, Secretary Andanar looked forward to a strengthened partnership with the Catholic Church in cultivating Christian faith in Filipino communities. From the airport, the Archbishop offered prayers at the Mary, Mother of God Council Parish Church in Parañaque City, his first visit to a church in the country. Pope Francis appointed Archbishop Brown on September 28, 2020. He replaced Italian Archbishop Gabriel Caccia, who was appointed as the Holy Father's permanent observer to the UN in November 2019. In our foreign news, 7 of the top 10 businessmen among the world's 500 richest people are engaged in technology, according to Bloomberg Billionaires Index data. Jeff Bezos, the founder of shopping site Amazon, is at the top of the list with a fortune of $187 billion amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Second placer, Elon Musk, who has a fortune of $140 billion, is the CEO of tech companies such as Tesla, Space, and Neuralink. Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, takes third place with $129 billion. French businessman Bernard Arnault ranks fourth with $105 billion, while Facebook's founder Mark Zuckerberg is in fifth place with $104 billion. Other top 10 people on the list are Warren Buffett, Google co-founders Larry Page, Sergey Brin, former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer, and Indian energy magnate Mukesh Ambani. 18 foundations and non-governmental organizations have been helping micro-enterprises to restart their businesses through Project Carinderia. The project distributes meals to poor families through food stall owners. Every participating Carinderia has to serve meals to 20 families in their community for 30 days. It has partnered with 50 food stall owners serving meals to 1,000 families. Kabuhayan sa ganap na Kasarilan Credit and Savings Cooperative General Manager Maria Ana de Rosas Ignacio said Carinderia are ideal partners in making safe and well-prepared meals easily accessible to families amid the pandemic. Project Carinderia will be expanded to 240 more Carinderia next month to provide meal subsidies to 4,800 families. Take one more look at today's biggest stories. President Duterte calls on Filipinos to follow the example of GAT Andres Bonifacio as the country celebrates Bonifacio Day. Joint Task Force COVID Shield is set to enforce stricter health protocols this Yuletide season. The daughter of Bayan Muna Representative Euphemia Colyamat is killed in an encounter between military forces and the NPA. And motorcycle riding becomes a new way to promote the country's tourist spots. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on PCAO and its agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. It's 25 days to go before Christmas, and that's your top stories today from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am Rom Dulfo. Good day.